The Great Automatic Grammatizator is a short story written by Roald Dahl. It was published in the year 1954. It is about a successful writer named Adolf Knipe who comes up with a plan to replace all writers with a machine that can write perfect stories. Knipe approaches a wealthy businessman, D.J. Willoughby, with his idea and convinces him to fund the project. They hire a brilliant inventor, Lenora Fenton, to build the machine which is called the Great Automatic Grammatizator. This machine becomes a huge success as it begins churning out best selling stories at an incredible rate. Knipe soon realizes that the machine is not just replacing writers but also the ideas behind the stories. He is horrified that all of the stories being produced by the machine are formulaic and lack any real creativity or originality. In the end, Knipe confronts Willoughby and destroys the machine, realizing that the human imagination is something that cannot be replicated by technology. Neither can it be replaced. Overall, the Great Automatic Grammatizator is a cautionary tale about the dangers of relying too heavily or solely on technology and the importance of preserving the human element in creative endeavors. This was the story in short. Now we'll talk about some important aspects of it. Now, Knipe realizes that by converting electric pulses into supersonic waves, he can experiment with English grammar, which is governed by rules, which ultimately means that the electric computer could be adjusted to arrange words in their right order according to the rules of grammar. Knipe becomes obsessed with the idea and decides to explore it further. His willingness to experiment with technology opens up new avenues for innovation and advancement in the future. The Great Automatic Grammatizator by Roald Dahl is actually a delightful satire which works at two levels. On one hand, it employs humor, irony, and exaggeration to ridicule and expose the vices and stupidity that are rampant in a commercialized society, and on the other hand, it serves as a critical commentary on the print media which prioritizes commercialism over the genuine work of art and creativity, where quality is not of much significance as the focus is solely on quantity and availability. It highlights how the contemporary society settles for commodities that are of inferior standard instead of finesse. Dahl suggests that they too are complicit in promoting mediocre content and prioritizing commercialism over genuine work. Dahl offers a powerful critique of the flaws and inadequacies that exist in our society and how it values quantity over quality. Now, why did Knipe at all form or frame this machine? It was that he had always cherished the ambition of becoming a writer but could never achieve any success, for his secret desire was never accepted by any publisher. When he struck upon the idea of letting his machine do the writing, he felt a pleasure. He relished the thought of taking sweet revenge against the enemies, namely the publishers, especially the editors and the genuine writers. Thus was born the Great Grammatizator. Quality didn't matter much, but the cost of production did, and the mass production of stories proved to be a game changer, rendering handmade articles obsolete. And by undercutting every writer in the country and involving more and more writers in their literary pursuit, they cornered the market, leading to the other genuine writers facing financial ruin. Where our narrator, who was a writer himself, was tempted to sign the contract to save his starving children, but his yearning for artistic integrity prevailed over the urge to make some quick money. The underlying pathos is highlighted at the end of the story, where watching his nine starving children, the narrator, a writer in his own capacity, prays to God, "Give us strength, O Lord, to let our children starve." Any moment, he can be lured to the labyrinth of easy money which buys creature comfort but sells out creativity. Pathos created by commercialism. It is pathetic that the readers were even losing their class and fine taste. The publishers, who should have upheld the ethics of society, are conniving with pseudo writers like Knipe with no conscience to dupe their fellow mates of earnings through genuine artistic creativity. The story traces the popularity of commercially viable articles churned out by the automatic machine, and thousands of copies were sold out in no time, with the precondition all the writers of the nation were bound, and that was they would never write another word for the rest of their lives, and this was a contract they had to sign to the effect and would get paid once in their lifetime. Now, the themes that are highlighted here can be machine power, commercial greed, and foolishness of society in shunning quality for the sake of quantity and easy availability. Modern society is increasingly getting addicted to machines, art and ingenuity taking a second place. Nobody is bothered about quality and are more concerned about quantity. This story is also a satire on the contemporary society and highlights how human is driven by man made machines. The greed for becoming rich and popular undermines all scruples of human heart. By feeding words, formulaic plots, required style, and genre into the machine, innumerable stories can be made, and most of them are finding ready market. In a matter of months, Knipe was able to earn fame, name, and trappings of the rich. He used several pseudonyms and flaunts all of them without any pang of conscience. Soon he becomes a sought after author and conquers almost three-fourths of the market. It is also a mockery at how the masses are duped and the insanity of them to accept machine churned stories, being completely not bothered about classic, original, and well thought out writings that are tinged with human experiences and human emotions when humans write them. Formulaic themes were sufficient for them to get a few hours of entertainment. Thus, the great writers of tomorrow, their dreams and their potential are squashed when faced with machines and their monstrous potential wielded by unscrupulous hands. It is a thought provoking story on the advance of machines making inroads to make human creativity irrelevant and their ever increasing role in human life, and how it proves to be detrimental to society. Art and creativity take a back seat when confronted with sheer quantity and ready market. There is a veiled criticism on the print media too, who discourage genuine writers only to give boost to pseudo writers like Knight. The Grammatizator revolutionizes the way stories were being created. In spite of all this, if we are still praising Knight for something in this story, then it should be his devious intelligence and commendable business mindedness, which helps him to create such a thing which would not only give him name, fame, and money, but would fulfill his desire of making a name in the world of creativity. The story begins on the assumption the rules of grammar are fixed by certain or almost mathematical principles. By exploiting this, Adolf Knipe, a young computer wizard, is able to create a gigantic machine to write a prize winning novel in mere 15 minutes. And they just had to make certain adjustments, arrange the words in their right order, After selecting the proper genre, theme, style, characters, word count, and more using master buttons. Add elements like tension, surprise, humor, pathos, or mystery. And finally, they must infuse passion into the final product. The machine thus produces exceptional stories that surpass the mediocre ones. So, Adolf Kneip was not just a genius with computer programming but a shrewd businessman. Knipe and Bolin thus in time set up their own literary agency, distributing stories by creating fictitious names for the writers. Knipe increases his output to 30 stories a week within 6 months, earning a reputation as a prolific and successful writer, and thus joins in the pursuit of fame and money, the infinite, irresistible urge for more. Knipe not only creates the machine with his computer intelligence, but his plan to even absorb all other writers in the country was the masterstroke. He created a list of the most successful writers and offered them lifetime contracts with pay provided they never wrote another word and allowed their names to be used on machine made books. They targeted mediocre writers who were easy to tempt, and he persuaded almost 70% of such writers. He successfully monopolized the market eventually with his shrewd business tactics. However, it is worth questioning the ethics of such monopolistic practices and the impact it may have on the literary world or the creative world, the creative ability of human beings.